What's up, guys? You are watching Fite Feed, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my UFC 318 recap, going through the entire card, starting at the main event, and I'll make my way all the way down to the very first fight on the card. This card, actually, guys, was, in my opinion, one of the best cards of the year. We had a ton of finishes, a ton of underdogs coming through and getting it done. This also was one of the most abysmal cards for every single creator in terms of who we pick to win each fight. I think the best score out of every creator was fucking 9-5. And actually, no creator on this card came out ahead of the others, really. There was, obviously certain people tied for first place, but there was no clear winner because we have a bunch of ties in first, second, and third. So needless to say, this fight card was a bit crazy, but let's go ahead and dive in with the main event of the evening to start us off, which was one of the best fights that I think we've ever been blessed to have as MMA fans. That fight being the third and final fight for Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, but also the final fight ever for Dustin the Diamond Poirier. And I'm going to go ahead and start us off there, guys. So give me one moment while we switch over, and here we go. So, guys, where to begin on this fight? I mean, come on. This fight was absolutely insane. From start to finish, you had, both Max and Dustin landing at will. I think Max definitely imposed his will early on in the first couple rounds, landed some heavy blows. I think he actually, technically speaking, guys, this says that there was only one knockdown per person. I feel like obviously there was a clear knockdown on the side of Dustin. I felt like Max probably should have gotten maybe credited one other knockdown, but I think that maybe it was like a grappling situation and they don't score it that way. I just think that, looking at the significant strikes, Max landed 198, which is fucking insane. Max Holloway has some of the best volume punching that we've seen. Some of the best combinations as well. Like when he was getting Dustin hurt and up against the cage, the combos that Max was throwing were crazy. Very fast at lightweight, but he packs more punch at lightweight as well. I think obviously the Gaethje experience versus Max Holloway, watching Max get a fucking Family Guy KO over Gaethje, that still applies here, but Dustin was not going to go out that way. Dustin had an amazing performance. Even while being hurt, he just showed that grit that he's always had. Coming back into the fight, actually hurting Max in multiple moments and potentially, getting himself a win almost in those later rounds, especially when he jumped the ghillie. I actually had said while I was watching, I'm like, wouldn't that be fucking crazy if Dustin jumps the guillotine and gets it? When he jumped that guillotine, I really thought he had it, but Max was wise to it, got out of there. Very just overall, guys, this fight was like everything that I think we could have anticipated between these two. It's just sometimes these types of matchups you just can't miss, and you can't lose really, because both fighters are going to go out there and fight their fucking asses off, and it was fantastic to watch as a fan. So overall, guys, I thought this was an amazing fight, and I do think Max deserved the win. However, I did think that some of the rounds were a lot closer. I kind of agree with the sentiment that Dustin had in that it just seemed like it was a bit closer in my opinion. Like, I don't think Dustin actually should have got the nod for the win. However, I do think there probably should have been a bit more rounds going to Dustin. But I think it's one of those things, like, as you're watching it, everybody reacts, I think, differently to certain shots that are landing and stuff like that. So overall, though, fantastic fight from both Max and Dustin. It'll be fun to see where Max goes next in the lightweight division. There's tons of options for him. But because I want my recap video, guys, to be a bit more fast-paced, we're just going to go ahead and dive in to the next fight on the card here, which was Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. This was a fucking fantastic fight. Paulo Costa, prime Paulo Costa, is back, guys. The secret juice, secret powder, whatever he's got going on, he is back. This was a fantastic performance from him. To see Paulo walk him down like a marauder and really take control of the fight, especially in the striking exchanges. I really, really love the, I guess it's a right body hook that, and maybe even you could call it a bit of an uppercut too, more of like a shovel hook, because he was kind of going with the underhand hook like that, but landing on Roman's body And what was really cool from Paulo is to see how much distance he could cover with that shot. Even though Paulo is not the tallest guy, not the longest reach, it was really nice to see him advance in that boxing realm, especially like to watch him land those shots. I feel like if you guys rewatch this fight, definitely pay attention to, I was noticing how much distance that Paulo could cover, and it was really awesome to see. Really happy for Paulo because Paulo's had a rough few years, I would say. I think in 2023 didn't even get a fight in because, he was injured and then Khamzat, like both of them pulled out. Just everything fell apart. 2024 he came back but lost. Like I feel like Paulo is finally in like back in that form where should he be able to stay active here, he could, get back in that winning column again and get another big fight going for middleweight. Paulo's definitely always, if this is the Paulo that shows up, this is going to be a very fun fight anytime he shows up, especially if it's that version of Paulo. Sometimes we've seen, especially lately, Paulo be more hesitant and kind of just like standing there taking pictures. Kopylov, though, I think was doing well when he could, but I think ultimately where I would say what happened for Kopylov is I think he got hurt on the feet and then became hesitant. So I think that was all driven by Paulo. And I think if you rewatch the fight again, like the thing that was really irking me because I picked Kopylov was that Kopylov he was really the one taking pictures in this fight. He was kind of letting Paulo engage, also gauge the distance, gauge the footwork. He was letting Paulo just do everything on his behalf and not doing anything to negate Paulo's game plan. So ultimately, fantastic performance from Paulo Costa. Very happy to see it for him. It'll be fun to see where both these guys go next because they're both huge fighters in the middleweight division. Now, jumping down to what has, I guess, gotten a back end deal or a back end fucking fight of the night from Dana White. This fight was fucking bonkers, guys. And I have to say, out of all the underdog like picks that I could have gone with and that I was thinking about like when I was making my picks, I did not think that I had one thought that Daniel Rodriguez might give Kevin some trouble with the boxing. And the reasoning behind my thinking on that was if you watch Kevin Holland's fight with Jack Della Maddalena, he had a lot of issues with the boxing of Jack. And Daniel Rodriguez, I'm not saying is on that same level as Jack, but Daniel Rodriguez, if there's one trait that we're going to call out that he is just crispy with, it's that boxing. And obviously, guys, if you haven't watched D-Rod's career, he's always been a very like lead foot heavy boxing style. And obviously, if you guys saw my call out from when he fought in Iowa, he definitely like, it's so cool to see D-Rod sometimes in the pocket because when he starts landing, it's almost like the hood comes out of him and he's just winging these hooks and he's got bad intentions on those shots. He fucking looked fantastic out there. Was very good about landing to the body, but also just glancing those hooks on the chin of Holland. And he actually landed one of those to knock Holland down, which was awesome to see. Like, you just don't expect that, especially with D-Rod now being 30. I think he's 37 or 38 now. He is at that age where it's like, usually you see a decline. He's actually picking it back up, which is so cool to see. Kevin Holland, though, had a great showing as well. I mean, if you really look at the stats, obviously that extra knockdown on the side of Daniel Rodriguez probably edged him that decision, of course. Now, total strikes, they're even at 111. And then significant strikes, you got 82 to 77. So this was a very close fight, guys. And Kevin Holland looked in prime form, but I do think that this could be a call out, guys, where it's like sometimes that activity level, right? Kevin Holland just fought on June 7th. Which is, I think like 43 days ago or some shit. He just fought and like that fight, obviously he didn't take any damage really, but I think when you're going in there with a guy who can scrap like Daniel Rodriguez, if you're not getting him out of there quickly, it's going to be a bit of a dogfight. So I think from an activity perspective, that could have played a role in Kevin maybe just not getting that extra edge that he usually has. But overall, guys, this fight was just an amazing fucking scrap. Like one of the best fights of the night. Very happy to see both guys out there, banging it out. And I don't really think either guy loses stock in my opinion because both of them put on a great showing and had their moments. So moving on to the next fight. Okay, guys. So this one was definitely not one that I would have ever expected. I saw Patricio's last performance against Yair Rodriguez, was not impressed whatsoever. and kind of wrote him off, I have to say. And I'm going to admit that fully. I am now on that hype train of Patricio Pitbull because that was a fucking masterclass performance from him. He did a great job at not only landing on the feet and hurting Dan Ige, which I think was the biggest outlier here, because I think from a like overall like MMA game standpoint, I feel like Dan Ige had kind of all the boxes checked against Patricio. But one factor that I think a lot of, myself included in this, a lot of creators didn't consider the fact that, okay, if Patricio's able to hurt Dan Ige, what does that do to the fight? I think that is the biggest outlier here is Patricio is not only able to hurt Dan on the feet, but then he was able to bring in those takedowns, which he was able to score 5. And I think that really just allowed him to dictate, where this fight was headed. Was ultimately just able to get that decision with those takedowns, in addition to getting a few moments where he hurt Dan on the feet. Obviously, I think Dan had a few moments as well, but if you really compare it, Patricio Pitbull just had a way better performance than Dan Ige. But ultimately, I think Dan Ige has just had that type of career where it's like he'll go on these fucking streaks beating some of the best guys. And then he'll run into a roadblock. And I think, unfortunately, he ran into another one here. But it doesn't mean that Dan Ige is, completely out of it here. I think he'll be, the tail end of the rankings and he can make his way back in. But ultimately, this was a fun fight. I think, guys, if we're going to compare this to some of the other fights on the card, I think probably the most boring, but still fun nonetheless, especially for someone who's a true MMA fan. Next fight on the card, we got Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber. Guys, MJ, not one person picked Michael Johnson, guys. And this dude came out there like a crafty vet and just fucking put the work on Daniel Zellhuber. I know, so the biggest thing that I said in this fight, I did think that Zellhuber could get cracked because Zellhuber obviously got cracked against Esteban Ribovic. But Michael Johnson has, even though at 39, fellow Gemini, Michael Johnson has some of the fastest hands, even at 39 years old, which is really great to see because I think generally speaking, when we talk about striking, it's like the power is the last to go, but speed probably goes much earlier. Michael Johnson still has that hand speed. And he's a tricky guy, especially in that southpaw stance. The way he's able to string together combinations, the body work mixed in as well. He's just a great boxer, guys. He just keeps getting better. I feel like it's like he's like fine wine, getting better with time. It's so great to see Michael Johnson get this win, even though I know I didn't pick him, but no one else picked him, at least in the tracker that I have. So I think this was a masterclass performance, though. And Daniel Zellhuber now, was a very touted prospect, is now in a position where he's, down 2 and just, have to try to find his way back. But ultimately, I just don't think Daniel Zellhuber was able to get off his offense and really do anything to stop Michael Johnson from landing all the shots that he was. Michael Johnson just proves again, right? Now he's 16-15 in the UFC. So huge win for MJ. Happy for him. And it'll be fun to see where he goes next. It'll also be fun to see where Zellhuber goes next. He's now got that experience with the crafty vet. It's just going to make him a better fighter. So next fight on the card, Kyler Phillips and Oliveira. Kyler Phillips, guys, no one picked him to win, but he did come out and looked very good in the beginning of the fight. Like, he was actually hurting Vinicius in round 1 and landing his own shots. But then I think Vinicius just had that grit and I think that size advantage that just allowed him to kind of weather that storm from Kyler. And you could see that as the fight went on, Kyler was getting more and more hurt by the offense of Vinicius Oliveira. And I think that was probably just due to the fact that, Kyler was just a smaller guy in this fight. And once Vinicius was able to start landing on him, you could tell that like over the course of the fight, it was almost like Vinicius was like, he got like a juggernaut, if you will. And like, he had some extra fucking shield or whatever. And then Kyler was just kind of like withering away as the fight went on. Ultimately though, Kyler did stay in there, even when hurt, was able to stay in the fight, land his own shots, very scrappy fight for both men, but really cool to see, Vinicius Oliveira continue to punch his ticket to the higher parts of the rankings in bantamweight. And it's fun because it's like, I would love to see Vinicius go against Nurmagomedov. I know Vinicius had called him out previously and said that he's ducking him. I am going to make a UFC 318, like what fights need to happen after this. I feel like that should be the one, guys. Like, let's see Nurmagomedov go up against a fucking young and hungry guy and see how he can handle that. And I think if he gets a win there, that could really stake his claim at potentially getting a rematch against a Merab. But at the end of the day, guys, this was a really fun fight. And I think they did live up to their spot being on the top of the prelims. I felt like that should have gone to Vettori and Allen, because I feel like Vettori and Allen should have been on the fucking main card. But Kyler Phillips and Oliveira definitely put on a show and made their spot worthy of taking over for Brendan Allen and Vettori. And just like that, I'm going to go down to the next fight, which is Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori, which got Fight of the Night honors. I do believe this is worth Fight of the Night honors. These guys went out there and scrapped the entire fucking fight. Marvin Vettori, dude, people want to hate on Marvin. I fucking love Marvin Vettori, man. I'm a fan now. Like, especially that fight. Like, he just fucking goes out there to scrap every time. He doesn't have a wide array of tools in his striking game, but he uses his 1-2 very well. He uses that overhand very well. He was able to land stiff shots on Brendan Allen, sending his head back quite a bit. But Brendan Allen, man, what a fucking performance from Brendan Allen. I was so shocked to see that. I really thought, guys, that I went Vettori in this fight. I just thought that Brendan Allen, I've seen him get like rocked or fucking knocked out too many times to where I was worried about his ability to withstand shots. And guys, if you go back and watch Vettori versus Cannonier, now, Cannonier may have shaved off a few years of Vettori's life in that performance, but if you watch that fight early on, and people forget, man, Vettori dropped Cannonier a couple times. I think it was like once or twice, and maybe he didn't drop him. Maybe it was one time he dropped him, but he hurt Cannonier on the feet several times in that fight. So Vettori's got some pop in his shots, and I just felt like because Vettori has a granite chin, I didn't think Allen was going to be able to KO him. And I felt like as the fight went on, Vettori could be scrappy with that boxing and maybe land a KO shot. But ultimately, Allen just stayed in there, stayed in his face, walked him down the whole time, was fucking taunting a little bit, got a few takedowns. Ultimately, this was a fantastic scrap. These guys went back and forth. But I do think that Brendan Allen was deserving of that due, especially the fact that although there were some thudding shots on the side of Vettori, Brendan Allen did bloody up Vettori's face pretty early on in the fight, which I think from a damage perspective, it just looked worse on that end for Vettori. So I feel like ultimately that unanimous decision has to go to Brendan Allen. Got it done in his hometown. So shout out to Brendan Allen. What a great performance. And shout out to Marvin Vettori. I know he was fighting for his brother. Rest in peace to your brother, Patrick. Hopefully you're doing as well as you can. But dude, you have nothing to be upset about. That was a fantastic scrap. And I know your brother's probably happy for you. So very good job on you, and a very fun fight from both guys. We'll go ahead and jump down now to another underdog on this card that scrapped it out, pulled it off. So interesting on this one, guys. So Francisco Prado versus Nikolai Veretinnikov. I fucking cannot say homie's name. This fight, what's interesting, guys, is I made my picks video, and I was on the fence of choosing Nikolai because after digging in and doing research, I really discovered Francisco Prado truly is a lightweight at heart. Previously fought at lightweight, has a lot of fights at lightweight. Now he's fighting at welterweight. Because of that, I felt weird about picking Prado at first because I'm like, you know what? I feel like his size is going to be much smaller than Veretinnikov. And sorry guys, I can't say his name. I'm just gonna fucking say Tinkinov. Anyways, I thought the size would be an issue, and it was actually kind of interesting because then after I made my picks video, a few days passed, Guru made his picks video. He had a similar take. He was saying I think that size differential is going to be a factor here. He ended up picking Veretinnikov and got it correct. Very good pick for him. I was just happy though, although I got this one wrong, I was happy to see that Prado stayed in there even after being hurt, by getting, slammed. He was definitely flash KO'd from that slam. Veretinnikov did a great job on that slam too, guys. Usually guys will go with a slam when they're slamming from an armbar position. They just go straight down and the guy just kind of lands and absorbs it. But Veretinnikov made sure to as he dropped, he turned his arm, which forced Prado's head to just smack the canvas just the right way. Almost got the KO. Now, Prado, like I said, stayed in there, was scrappy the entire time, so it was a really fun fight. And I think you could argue, Prado maybe getting the nod, but I'm not mad at Veretinnikov getting the nod because I do think from a damage perspective, he just did more damage overall. But it was a really fun scrap from both guys. They really went out there and they banged it out. So fun to see that. I got that run wrong. It sucks, but it is what it is. The next fight on the card, we got Gaudier versus Valentin. Yeah, man, this was a Gaudier just, dude, Gaudier is different. Gaudier is a different fighter, man. He has that Ngannou, obviously from Cameroon, has those fucking Cameroon genetics. There's something about his power guys that is different because Valentin's been cracked before, but you could see immediately in this fight, even though he wasn't knocked down, the second Gaudier was landing those hooks to the side of the fucking head, you could see Valentin was like, this is different. Like this is different. And even though he was waving him on, saying like, nah, he didn't hurt me, dude, he ended up just he waved it on and got fucking knocked the fuck out, basically. Gaudier looked great, very fast, crispy boxing. But I think, he's going to be a victim a little bit of like this Tom Aspinall type theory where his own dominance is like what makes people question him as a fighter, right? He's gone out there and got these first round KOs. And so someone like myself or other creators, maybe even analysts alike, will feel like, okay, you are dominant, but are you dominant? How long are you dominant until you fucking run into an immovable force, right? Until you come up against another middleweight who won't, be withered or KO'd by your shots. How do you handle it, right? And I say Tom Aspinall theory because when we look at Tom Aspinall, that's been the story of like his entire UFC tenure. But even after getting, 7 or 8 first round finishes, it's still up in the air of like, can he handle those late rounds? And honestly, I agree with Tom Aspinall's take of like, it's not my fault that I can beat my opponents in the way that I do. Like, that's not my problem. So it'll be interesting to see how Gaudier continues to rise up in these ranks. I think maybe give him 1 or 2 more unranked middleweight fights, then give him a ranked guy because he's only 2-0 in the UFC, still young in his career. But he looked fantastic out there, guys. Very crisp boxing, very powerful, just fun to watch overall. Next fight on the card. Speaking of fast boxing, crispy striking, we got Islam Dulatov. So this guy came in from the Contender Series. If you guys didn't see his Contender Series performance, he looked like a fucking world beater out there. Now, obviously, he might have been fighting a can, but when we look at this fight against Fuget's a scrappy guy. He has a lot of experience overall. And I think he did good at first, but right off the bat, guys, the thing that I have to call out about Dulatov's striking, it's not only his speed and his ability to put combos together, it's the accuracy. The way he's so accurate. If you guys watch this fight, he was teeing off and landing like as Fuget's even trying to move around and get away from shots, he's landing every shot on him, and it's landing on his chin. Dulatov looked fucking fantastic. The way he was throwing the knees up the middle, the way he was able to land those crispy 1-2s and then throwing the fucking lead hook in there as well, ultimately getting the knockdown with the lead hook and then the straight punches on the ground. Dulatov is a problem in this division. It'll be very fun to see where he goes next. And Fuget, unfortunately, not really much to write home about. He did land some of shots of his own, but just not anything that's really of note or even to remember. Like the only thing I can kind of remember from this fight at this point is like the crispy striking from Dulatov and then like Fuget being, punched in the off button a few times, sending him into the shadow realm for like 30 seconds until he was woken up again by another shot. So really fun fight though. And, very happy to see that he also got a performance of the night. Like a lot of people got 50K bonuses, which was sick. Next fight on the card, Jimmy Crute versus Prachnio. I know a lot of people were thinking Prachnio on this. I felt like Jimmy Crute's wrestling would be the difference. I will say, guys, I was a little worried about, maybe going in there being like a lot bigger. And then when Jimmy Crute went in there, Jimmy Crute looked massive. Like he looked massive compared to Prachnio. Like in a way where it's almost like Crute could be in a different weight class or something. I think that overall this fight was good while it lasted. Prachnio was trying to get his offense off on the feet. Jimmy Crute did have a couple of the stepping on Legos, as Guru says, when he was trying to throw some combos together. That Waffle House footwork. But, what was funny, though, is Jimmy Crute's able to get that wrestling off, gets put down, gets that arm bar. And it was really cool to see how Jimmy Crute handled that arm bar. He had it in like a standard approach, kind of pulling it back, but, was not, affected by it. But then you saw Crute kind of turn it over and then pull up. and then he's able to get that tap, got him a tap kind of pretty instantly after he got that angle off. So very cool to see as a fan. Just watching that jiu-jitsu is fun, and watching that submission is fun, especially seeing how Crute was able to deal with a little bit of adversity and not being able to get the finish immediately and then rolling into it. So really fun performance, and really happy to see Jim Crute get a win. It's been a while for him, so happy about that. But dude, Proximo is always going to be like one of the most exciting prelim fighters. So it'll be fun to see where he goes next. I hope he still gets some fights in the UFC, because he is always entertainment when he gets out there. Next fight on the card. And guys, I started off 6-0 on this card, and then I fucking just went. It was bad. Yeah. Overall, if you guys are interested, you can see my picks video. It's coming out tomorrow. We're going to go through an update for everybody and just see who's in the lead in our rankings. But looking at Ryan Spann versus Lucas, really kind of went exactly as I expected. I did think that Ryan Spann would have the advantage if it got into a grappling realm. I didn't know Ryan Spann would go grappling like kind of off the bat. Happy to see he did though, because I did see Brzezinski land a couple heavy shots on the feet, and I think even though, oh yeah, it says, okay, I thought it said 0 strikes. I'm like, what the fuck? I thought he did land a couple heavy shots, and I'm like, you know what? Ryan's got to do something here. And then, Spann's able to fucking get it done. He gets the takedown, and he does his thing. He gets that fucking choke up. I think it was a choke. Yeah, it was definitely a choke. I can't, guys, I'm like, for some reason, I'm forgetting what choke it was. But nonetheless, Ryan Spann, I think it was his guillotine. He does the guillotine, and it's so fucking good. Really just, a great win for Ryan Spann to continue making his way in the heavyweight division. Now Lucas Brzezinski's 1-6 in the UFC. I don't know that he's sticking around, but the UFC heavyweight division is not the deepest of divisions, so perhaps he keeps his ticket and maybe gets a Sam Alvey, 1-8 or some shit. I don't know. Anyways, jumping down to the next fight on the card, Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVeigh. I gotta say, guys, I thought that Bruno Ferreira would be a problem for Jackson McVeigh on the feet, but surprised to see Jackson McVeigh did well, trying to land his own offense, keeping Bruno somewhat hesitant on the feet. But ultimately, what I really love to see from Bruno Ferreira is how he mixed in his judo, right? I think that was a judo throw that he did to Jackson McVeigh that allowed him to get into the position of the armbar, where he was then able to, crank that bitch and end this fight almost immediately. I mean, very early on in round 1, they were able to get this one wrapped up. So really fun performance from Bruno Ferreira. And it would be fun to see Jackson McVeigh. I know he had some setbacks, guys. Like, he had made weight like 3 times for this fight, which is really why I couldn't pick him. And also just not seeing him in the UFC yet. Although he was undefeated, he was 6-0. He's 6-1 now. I want to see him go up against maybe a guy who's not as talented as Bruno Ferreira. See where he stacks up. Maybe get him a couple wins before we see what happens. Before we see what happens next with Jackson McVeigh. A really fun performance though from Bruno Ferreira. I think Bruno Ferreira is pulling off these submissions. It's almost like Davison Figueiredo, where it's like he was this marauder on the feet, and now he's like showing off his jiu-jitsu game. So fun to see that, and it'll be fun to see where both guys go next. Finally, guys, we are down to the first fight of the card. Carly Giudice, my lord, she is a beast. Went out there, I gotta say, first off in this fight, I felt a little worried. Nicole Cagliari was like, They landed like fucking 3 or 4 punches on Carly Giudice, which was, a little worrisome for me as I picked Carly Giudice. But Carly Giudice started just really putting it together, pouring it on. And dude, those body knees. So the body knee she finished Nicole with was brutal. But if you guys go rewatch this, the one that she landed, I think at the end of round 1, was just like, I heard it land and it sounded like a fucking bat hitting like a cow carcass. It was so loud, so brutal. Carly Giudice, like, it's actually funny. Guru actually mentioned this. I saw part of Guru's recap, and he mentioned how, we all want, Dakota Ditcheva to come to UFC, obviously, because Dakota Ditcheva is just a fucking beast in and of itself. But Dakota's got those brutal body knees. Carly Giudice was literally looking like Dakota out there with those body knees. It was so cool to see. And I think what was really fun to see from her is she didn't even need the clinch to land those body knees. She was throwing those body knees just from open range, landing heavily on Nicole Cagliari. A really, really fun performance from Carly Giudice. And she won a $50,000 bonus, which I feel was very warranted. And you love to see those 50K bonuses going to these fighters that are starting out in their career. Because, guys, that 50K bonus, I don't know about you guys, but if I was to get 50K today, and let's just say, I got to throw 20 towards coaches and stuff, and manager, even if I walked away 25K, that would do huge things for me. And I think it would do huge things for a lot of us. So to see these young fighters get that opportunity and get that performance of the night bonus, it's really fun and it's really good to see, because you want to see these fighters hit that next level in their career. And sometimes getting that big amount of money in a lump sum, it just allows them to really focus on what matters most, which is training and just sticking to the script for their career. So very happy to see that for her. And like just as Dustin Poirier once said, when he got a $60,000 bonus from, I think it was the Fertitas, he's like, that did it moved mountains for him in terms of where he was able to go next in his career. So very fun and really cool to see that from Carly Giudice. And it'll be great to see where she goes next in the flyweight division. I think she's making a name for herself. Ultimately, guys, I would say this fight card probably is an 8.5 out of 10, maybe a 9. I think that all these fights were just as advertised. And even when we had some decisions, they were still very competitive and fun fights. So ultimately, I think it was just one of the best cards of this year. Definitely not the best, but one of the best. And it'll be very fun to see, where all of these fighters go next. Sad for all of us as MMA fans that we will never be able to watch Dustin Poirier fight again. But I'm so happy for Dustin Poirier and all he was able to achieve. Hope he rides off into the sunset and just has the greatest afterlife when it comes to, outside of fighting. He's got so much that he can work towards. He's got so many businesses. He's got the Good Fight Foundation. So really, really happy for Dustin. And I wish him and his family the best. What a great guy. I fucking love DP. And I love Max Holloway as well. So there you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching this recap. If you enjoyed this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Guys, let me know what your favorite fight on this card was. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you're not already, I truly hope you will subscribe to Fite Feed to stay on top of all the MMA content that I will be posting. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.